Steve Offenbaker's finally back, and the national media is rooting for the Cincinnati Reds to sign Kyle Schwarber.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. I want you to tell the others we're back up again. We are now the #1 sports podcasting network in all of the land. Thanks to you. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name's Jeff Carr. We love the Cincinnati Reds. We love baseball. We love talking about these things. We love talking about the Reds. We love talking about baseball. We've been doing it for a combined 14 seasons now in podcast form. And most especially, we love talking about these things with you. On today's show, a little bit later, Reds Fest has announced its participants. In case you missed it, we're going to run through the list. We'll tell you who will be there, who's not scheduled to be there as of right now, and review some of the more interesting names that appear on the list of former players scheduled to attend Reds Fest. Also, a little bit later, we're going to get to the winter meetings, which start this week. And if they're not signing free agents, there needs to be some trades. So will the Reds be doing some deals during the winter meetings? We're going to get into that here in just a few minutes. But where we are going to start is with the national media, because it's not just the local beat writers. It's not just us talking about the Reds and Kyle Schwarber. It's the national media who seem to really kind of want this to happen. And Jeff has a theory on why that kind of makes sense. We're going to get into all of that on today's show, which is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com right now to place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, Jeff Carr, it's great to have the gang back together. Let's get into this. I missed a little bit. Emilio Pagan is back. Emilio, I'm sure you did that like 5 or 6 times. I know you didn't let us down on that. The Reds spent some money. Emilio's coming back. The Kyle Schwarber talk has not died down. In fact, it has intensified, and it's led you to an interesting place as far as a theory as to why the national media is leaning into this so hard.
Yeah, they want this to happen. I believe this based on what you are reading. Ken Rosenthal has written multiple articles about this. Jim Bowden the other day actually predicted that the Reds would sign Kyle Schwarber 5 years, $160 million. That means that the Reds would break their records for all of the contract records that they have, at least, as far as free agent length and free agent amount. But I really feel like, and like, it just feels like multiple national reporters are just all over this thing. They aren't embedded in Middletown, but I'm not convinced that they're not embedded in Middletown right now. There's probably some of them Combs Barbecue right now, for all we know. And when it comes to Kyle Schwarber, I think that based on what would happen afterward, the national media wants this to happen because chaos would ensue if Kyle Schwarber doesn't go back to Philadelphia. Because think about what would happen after that. Philadelphia would need to replace his spot in the lineup with somebody. There are lots of reports linking them to Cody Bellinger if he were to not do if Kyle Schwarber were to go to Cincinnati. And then if Cody Bellinger goes to Philadelphia, then the Yankees need somebody. Then do the Yankees go and get Kyle Tucker, who has been linked with Toronto and with the Dodgers? And then do those guys go get there could be all hell break loose at the winter meetings. If Kyle Schwarber does come to Cincinnati, I think the national media would love to see that happen.
I just got this image of Ken Rosenthal like hiding out at Jungle Gyms, waiting for the news to break so he could sprint over to, Kyle Schwarber's
the best place
home.
to go if you're trying to stay up here north of 275.
No, you're not wrong in that this would create a ton of dominoes falling into other places. I think what's interesting about this is it's something that's a little bit different than what we've seen as Reds fans in a long, long time. And that's the national buy-in to these things. A lot of times we'll the Reds are interested in whatever the free agent of the day is. The Reds are interested in Shohei Ohtani. Sure, they're interested. You're interested. Everybody's interested. Maybe you talk about it a little bit locally, but it doesn't gain any traction because you knew and I knew and everybody knew the Reds weren't signing Shohei Ohtani, right? But this just continues to grow. It continues to gain traction. You talked about it for a long time with Mo the other day, which was a great show, by the way. I love it when Mo fills in for me because at least we keep these hairdos consistent. But I thought he made some great points. And I think the Reds may actually be considering this. The fact that the local writers are talking about it, the national writers are talking about it. Kyle Schwarber hinted at it a little bit when he was back in Middletown. Obviously he said all the right things about, the business and this, and we'll see, and all the stuff, but he wasn't a hard no. He wasn't a, that's not going to happen kind of guy. So all of the things point at it's possible. So I guess the real question here, Jeff, is how much do we believe in this? How much do we think that the Reds could go out and sign Kyle Schwarber? What's the percentage chance of them getting a deal done? And I know you have often been accused of being Mr. Overly Optimistic, Mr. Optimistic beyond reason. Of late, I think you've become much more realistic when it comes to how you feel about this team and what their limitations are.
Being down a little bit, yeah.
I think the Reds operating history, the way they've always done things, the times that they have varied from that and what's been going on. And I look at this team and I agree what you guys said the other day, you and Mo, that this is the first time they've had an opportunity to go get that piece they need. That piece they need is Kyle Schwarber. It's not building around somebody. It's not bringing in Schwarber and then trying to build a team. It's not, bringing him in for ticket sales or whatever the other things you guys talked about were. It is the fact that he is the best fit for the need of this team right here, right now.
Yeah.
I give 30% chance, Jeff. 30%, I believe the Reds could go get this done. I don't think it's anywhere close to a 50-50 deal. But I could get behind there's a 30% chance that the Castellini family will do something out of the box and let the budget blow open or do a capital call to the ownership group, which has never been done. Something to make this happen, because you add Kyle Schwarber to this team with a few more Band-Aids and spots that remain. This team contends for the division 2026 immediately.
And I'm very similar with yours. I'm just slightly higher, but it's semantics at this point, really. 35 or 30%. I'm at 35%. But again, this is to say that I still think it is far more likely that he stays in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. But most national writers agree on this point, that if it isn't Philadelphia, it's Cincinnati. So the idea that at least in that realm of reality, it's 50-50 is very interesting to me. There's another part of this in that the local beat writers, Mark Sheldon, Gordon Wittenmeyer, Charlie Goldsmith, did a piece specifically about the idea of the Reds being interested in Kyle Schwarber, and they don't do that. Local beat writers do not write whole articles about rumors. That's John Heyman, that's John Morosi, that's Bob Nightingale, that's the national guys that usually do stuff about that, as they are trying to drum up engagement and get different fan bases involved throughout the offseason. The local beat writers already have the involvement of Reds fans, so it's not as if they have to drum up interest in what it is that they're talking about. But there is seriousness to this. The Reds are serious about him. That is clear. He is serious about the Reds. And that is also clear based on all of the reporting and all of the things involved. I've even talked with multiple Locked On hosts that cover other teams, especially within our division, that are like, man, our teams really feel like this is possible. And our teams are really worried that this is going to happen. Every single person that talks about this rumor, whether it be local, national, opposing, whatever it is, you and me, we all say the same thing. Everything seems to be adding up except for the money. And the money is the most important part. And that is why you and I and probably everybody in Cincinnati aren't close to being confident that this can happen, but we are hopeful. We are firmly in the category of, boy, I really am hopeful that this could actually happen. But the Reds have to meet that money. And that is not something they have ever done. Looking at, Jim Bowden's projection of 5 years, $160 million. I've seen other things that put it at $30 million a year, whether it be 4 or 5 years. I saw a pipe dream one that was only $25 million for 4 years. And I'm like, if the Reds don't do that, then I can't help them. But I feel like we are to the point where that is the one and only thing that is stopping them from doing this. And so that's where we just have the biggest hang up on this, that confidence is not there to the point that we believe that it is likely, but we also believe that there is a better than little tiny chance of this happening.
Does $32 million a year feel possible in the city of Cincinnati? It does to me. It doesn't feel like, we keep talking about like, or the break the bank. This is not, we're not asking them to give him a $450 million contract and defer it for 10 years and
10
do the things
years.
the Dodgers have been doing. $32 million a year for a Kyle Schwarber seems like something the Reds should be able to do with minimal tweaking. Either that capital call that they've been so reluctant to ever do with this ownership group, or, you know, go over budget for a year and hope that the playoff revenue and then the subsequent, you know, jersey sales and season ticket sales and the things you would gain from that playoffs offset the money. But you have to just kind of risk it for a minute and be willing to go out of your comfort zone. And that 32 million just doesn't seem that far away. We're not talking big, huge numbers here.
And that's why it's like, man, we're like 30%, because it's like, rationally, no, it should not be a problem. But we know who we're talking about here. We're not talking about the Daddy Warbucks of Major League Baseball. We're talking about the Cincinnati Reds. And more often than not, they use money as an excuse rather than a tool to get where they're going to. But you know, Steve, when it comes to what's happening in the next couple of days, it's the winter meetings, and they bring trades for most teams in Major League Baseball. Coming up next, we will tell you the most likely Red to get traded at the winter meetings. FanDuel makes watching every live sporting event even better because you can bet live. Whether it's point spreads, over-unders, money lines, the live lines can get really exciting as the game goes along, and it really adds to your sports watching experience. Like tonight, you've got the Eagles and you've got the Chargers here on Monday Night Football, and it's a really close line, at least point spread rise, before the kickoff happens. During the game, that line could go all over the place depending on who scores first and who scores next and all that great stuff. You got to check it all out over on FanDuel. Right now, before kickoff, you got 1.5 point favorites in the Philadelphia Eagles on the road against the LA Chargers. Of course, we know LA football. Whoever's on the road isn't really a true road team, but that's going to be an interesting game to check out live over on FanDuel. So many different things going on live. Of course, you got the Bengals, you got Bearcats basketball, got Pacers basketball, all that stuff can be found over on FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app today and get in on the action. Thank you for making Locked On Reds your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now, take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Reds with no interruptions, and you get a members-only Discord access and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonreds.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, Steve, we are going to learn a lot more about these Reds here in these winter meetings, I believe. Now, I would like to preface what we're about to say with, I think I would put the likelihood of the Reds making a trade at the winter meetings under 50%. But I also say that, you know, if they trade or if they sign Kyle Schwarber, I think that likelihood goes up because we could see them free up some money. But I think that because of that, the name that we are most likely to see leave the Cincinnati Reds via trade in the next couple of days is Gavin Lux.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. He's become a little bit expendable given the other pieces on the board that you can move around to cover positions. Now, again, when he was facing you use his splits, you know, he had one of the highest on-base percentages on the team. He did a good job of getting on base. He didn't hit for a ton of power. He didn't do anything flashy in the field, but when asked to, he got on base. I get why they didn't non-tender him. You don't let that caliber of a player walk. You know, he's better than the very end of your bench guy, but I just don't think he has a role here. And I think if the Reds were willing to let him go for something cheap, just to clear that money, clear that space, they could get something done at these winter meetings. And it's interesting to me. He's probably the most likely guy to get traded, but he's not the name I'm watching out for the most. We've heard so many rumors pertaining to the one ace at the top of this rotation, Hunter Greene, and whether or not he is going to be traded and whether or not there's something going on within the organization that they're trying to move him. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen at the winter meetings. It's not going to happen towards February because the whole point of trading Hunter Greene would be to fix other things. And you need to know that sooner than later. So if we get through these winter meetings and Hunter Greene's still here, my confidence would be at 95% that all of that talk is squashed. All of that talk is over, and we don't have to worry about the Reds trading Hunter Greene at the winter meetings.
I would agree with that. I also think that this could be similar to the Jonathan India rumor, the Hunter Greene rumor, in that things begin to swirl and then it takes a year or two before it ever happens. But I'm with you. I think that if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen this week. But also, I saw the article. I think it was Anthony Castrovinci, the post. No, it was ESPN. It wasn't Anthony. No, it was Jeff Passan and Kylie McDaniel, and they listed it as a 10% chance that he gets traded. And I think that's about right. I think that's the low likelihood that it could get done. But I will say this: I think Cruz taking a cruise must have really relaxed you, because I thought I was going to get some pushback on the Gavin Lux point.
No.
But I think that the reason, and I think that the reason that you understand this, and the possibility of it happening, is that if you in fact do get Kyle Schwarber, number one, you're going to free up a little bit more money to make another move or two. But number two, Gavin Lux is on this team so that other people on the infield can DH, and then Gavin Lux fills in for them. If Kyle Schwarber is your everyday DH, then you're not likely to move those guys in and out of DH all the time, because the likelihood he's going to play any defensive position at all this year, I think he only did like 5 games in the field last year for the Phillies. Now, he played all 162, but I really think it was only 5 games that he played. And he played in left field, which was interesting to me. He hasn't played at first base really. But I just, if Schwarber's here, you're freeing up some money. You're probably trading Gavin Lux, probably trading Brady Singer. But I think Gavin Lux is the first guy, the first domino in that scenario to fall.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. If Kyle Schwarber's on this team, I'm looking for him in all 162 at the DH position.
No excuses.
That makes the other guys have to scoot around and cover each other more. It does make Gavin Lux expendable. Let me ask you this, because I want to be realistic about what Gavin Lux's trade value is. And even though he was a high or high on this team for on base percentage, I don't think that necessarily equates that he has some big trade value. I think that it would be like a relatively low, maybe you get a low A prospect back in return. Maybe you get something of that caliber. It's not a real big deal to trade away Gavin Lux. You just have to find a team that's willing to pay him.
No, you'll get exactly what the Reds traded for him. The Reds traded Mike Sirota for Gavin Lux, and Mike Sirota was a low-level A outfielder, which he had a pretty decent year for the Dodgers last year. And I saw that there were some people that wanted to say that the Reds have already lost this trade because of how Mike Sirota's done in the minor leagues. I am not there on that, but I say that to say this: I think that's what you would expect in a return for Gavin Lux, because it would be a salary dump. You're just looking to get that money off your books and then use that money elsewhere, or use that money on Kyle Schwarber, because we talked about this before. It feels like the Reds can free up money through trades to then afford Kyle Schwarber's deal, whatever that might end up being, because you add that on to probably about 10 to 15 million of what they have left to spend on free agents, and then you can make that make sense. But ultimately, no, I don't think he has much trade value.
And look at this thing of thirds we're talking about, right? We're 30% confident, or 30, they have 10 million left.
Yep.
If Bob Castellini will budge just 10 million more, and Nick Kroll can make up the other 10, you're at the $30 million already. You're already there. And all of the ownership group had to give was just 10 million more per season, or do a capital call for 10 million more per season in the hopes that the playoff revenue makes it back. It's not that outlandish. So you're right. But I think Gavin Lux is the first piece of that. If you're going to free up that 10 million, that middle 10, it starts with Gavin Lux.
And we talk, and I begrudge that this is a little bit of make-believe land here, but if they were to do a capital call, there's 18 different constituents that own the Cincinnati Reds. Mm-hmm. If you just ask for 1 million from each person, or heck, if you even do 500K from each person, again, this is a little bit of, make-believe land, but if you do 500K from 18 different people, my math tells me that that's $9 million. And then if you do 1 million, then you got $18 million. You could about afford the move without making any trades whatsoever. But I still think that even if they were to do that, which would be amazing, and the first time that they ever have done that in the era of this ownership group, which would mean that's how rare this is, then you could still trade Gavin Lux. You could keep Brady Singer and have all of the starting rotation depth that you desire. But you could trade Gavin Lux, free up $5 million more. Presumably, you spend $30 million on Kyle Schwarber. You got $3 million left. Go get yourself a lefty reliever, and we're giving this offseason an A+.
And I think for me, this is the big takeaway from these first two segments of today's show, Jeff, that this is not pie in the sky talk that we're putting out there right now. This is not us squinting and trying to see something as a possibility. It is very, very easy to look this dead in the eye and say that the Reds can accomplish this.
And, we're saying 30%. You know what we typically say about moves like this, Steve? Well, it's not 0%, but it's probably less than 1%. That's not what we're saying.
No, we're saying that this is possible. We're saying that this is doable. And we are saying that this is in the Cincinnati Reds' ability to accomplish, because it is. All right, Jeff. The Cincinnati Reds announced the return of Reds Fest and who the participants are going to be as the first event at the newly remodeled convention center. Coming up, we'll tell you some of the more interesting names that are on the list, as well as who from the 40-man roster will be there as well. We've got that coming up next. I've been telling you for a long time about Game Time, where you can get last-minute ticket deals at low, low prices. But did you know that Game Time also lets you look ahead and get tickets to upcoming events, whether we're talking about opening day in Cincinnati that's not that far around the corner, the start of the Bengal season, Bearcats football, Buckeyes football. You can look ahead to all those events and get tickets right now for future events at greatly discounted prices, and you're able to track the ticket prices as they drop in real time. Now, that doesn't mean that the last minute ticket deals are going away either, because Jeff and I use this all the time. We use this to get into the ballpark all throughout the season, but I've used this look ahead option to get Bengals tickets when I know I'm going to be flying back to Cincinnati. I've bought Buckeye tickets with it, and I've even done road games for the Reds well in advance with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply. Just download that app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, guess what? We're on every single audio podcasting app pretty much that exists. You can take us on the road with you. Take us in the car, take us for a walk, take us to the gym. We would love to be in your audio feeds as well. Just click that subscribe button over there, just like here on YouTube. Click that subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss any of the great stuff we have for you all off season long. All right, Jeff, Reds Fest. You and I love it. We love going to this thing. We've gone for a lot of years. We missed it. It is back. It's the first event at the newly remodeled convention center in downtown Cincinnati. The list is out and it is full of names. There are a lot of names on this list. Some better than others, some more known than others.
Which I will say, it's the initial list. Like, the Reds announced that there are still some that they're waiting to confirm travel plans, and they will update those as they know that. But yeah, the initial list is intriguing. The 40-man roster participants that have been confirmed and will be there are Andrew Abbott, Graham Ashcraft, Leo Balcazar, Blake Dunn, TJ Friedel, Luis May, Hector Rodriguez, and Tyler Stevenson. And in case you were wondering why it was in such a weird order, that's alphabetical. So that's why that's going to happen. But it's fun to see that, we will see a lot of key guys there from this current team. And you'll also, of course, have Terry Francona. You'll have pretty much all of the coaching staff will be there. Derek Johnson, of course, will also be there. New third base coach Willie Harris will be there. First base coach Colin Calgill will be there. Maybe Colin Calgill just gives everybody headbutts. I don't know. That'd be a lot of fun. I think, would you pay $10 to get a headbutt from Colin Calgill? I think I'd pay $10.
I would be really interested to see what that line would look like if they did that. Get a headbutt.
Man, I'd be all in on that.
I think it would be it'd be a busy line. I really would. There's a couple names though, Jeff, a couple names on the 40-man roster that are participating. I'm excited to see. It's good to see Tyler Stevenson back and out there at Reds Fest.
Yes.
We always enjoy seeing him, talking with him. I'm looking forward to that. Graham Ashcraft being on this list. I love that for Graham.
Yes.
I love an opportunity for the fans to get to interact with him. He's been a fan favorite for a long time. He's the type of guy. He's one of those players. I talk about this often. There is a player type that Cincinnati loves to love. And Graham Ashcraft is one of those. Nose to the grindstone, blue collar, work ethic kind of dudes. So I'm glad to see him on the list from the 40-man participants. And I'm also glad to see TJ Friedel on this list, because more and more, he's winning me over, and I'm ready to pencil him in here for several more years. So it's good to see him out there being able to interact with the fans as well.
Yeah, and then you have some alumni. always alumnus, but alumnus is one person, alumni, multiple people. Bronson Arroyo will be there. Tucker Barnhart's going to be there. Of course, Jeff Brantley, he could have gone in either the broadcasters or the alumni list, just like Chris Welsh. He'll be there as well. Sam LeCure, too. Dave Miley is going to be there.
Dave Miley.
We can
All
we
right.
can remember the good years of Dave Miley. Devin Mesoraco, he'll be there. He pulled the draft pick that the Reds so badly needed for Chase Burns.
Yep.
Austin Kearns, he'll be there. That'll be fun. The mayor, Sean Casey, Friday only, though. He'll be there on Friday.
I'm
Marty
excited
Brenneman,
about Casey. I'm excited about Casey being there because love Sean Casey. Happy he's going to be around.
Would love to see that. Some other names that I think will test your knowledge of Reds history a little. Skeeter Barnes.
I mean, why didn't you lead with that? How did you not lead with Skeeter?
Should have. I absolutely should have. Also, Doug Bear. Doug Bear. The 50 career saves that Doug Bear had.
That is definitely a person.
Doug Bear. And
Doug Bear.
They're going to be there. Doug Bear.
They're going to be there.
He'll maybe sitting in a chair.
Don't you do any more rhyming. Jim Day is going to be there. Brian Giesenslaw is going to be there. Tommy Thrall is going to be there. I knew where you were going with that, and we're not doing it on my first day back. I am not letting you have that, sir. But listen, I love Reds Fest. I love being able to get out and not only see, the current players and the former players, but, some of the youth on this team. One of the guys from the 40-man group that's going to be out there. We're going to see that young Luis May, who's going to be fighting for a spot in the bullpen. We're going to see Leo Balcazar be out there as another young guy that's looking to try and make his way to this big league roster and stick on it. So I like an opportunity for the young guys to not only, be able for the fans to put a face to the player and see them in person, but also this gives some of those younger guys an opportunity to hang out with the veterans, the retired players, the alumni, and the current 40-man roster guys that are on the team, and maybe have an opportunity to pick their brain or just get to know them a little bit better, which will make coming to Cincinnati and being in Cincinnati as a younger player a lot less intimidating for them. So I'm glad to see that the Reds work those young prospects, those minor league guys into the rotation as well, just to kind of get them exposed to the environment that is Cincinnati baseball.
And for the guys that are considered prospects that aren't on the 40-man roster, those announcements will be made in January, at least according to Reds.com. They say TBA in January. So we'll learn of those guys. But yeah, this is a great time. And to be honest with you, Reds Fest is one of my favorite things to go to for like memorabilia, for good deals that you can get on like hats and stuff like that. I will always tell everybody, like, in case you forgot about the story about it, I once got a Odyssey 2-ball putter. And if you're a golfer, you understand that. But an Odyssey 2-ball putter at Reds Fest that has a Reds logo on the face of the putter. And I got it for $50 because I'm a lefty. And quite frankly, whenever non-golf club places are trying to sell golf clubs and they somehow have a lefty, they look at it like, what on earth is going on here? Why do we have this thing? Someone please take it off of our hands, because an Odyssey 2-ball putter is not a cheap item. And I got that for $50. That was the most surprising thing I've ever gotten at Reds Fest for sure. But I've gotten hats for really cheap too. Yeah.
And the other thing that we get is grab bag jerseys that fit. Thank you, Ian Jabot. I don't know what we're going to do moving forward, but we love the grab bag.
Nobody's gotten any, nobody's gotten any Ford jerseys. Nobody's got any Mike Ford jerseys from 2024 because we didn't have Reds Fest last year. So
there could be in the grab bag.
Yeah. Mike Ford. I think I can probably fill out into that one. But yeah, I think when it comes to Reds Fest, it's so much fun. And of course, that would also be a great place to introduce everybody to their everyday designated hitter in Kyle Schwarber. And so hopefully that's what we're talking about too.
From your lips to God's ears, because I would love for that to be the debut of Kyle Schwarber in a Reds uniform. Sign me up for that all day long.
Can you believe that we're here at this point talking about this rumor has gotten so many, because remember, Gordon Whitmire brought this up on the All-Star game and we're just like, Gordon, what are you doing? Don't give us hope. Don't talk about this. This isn't going to happen. And now it's like, oh man, there's something to this.
Well, even a broke clock is right twice a day. So Gordon stumbled into one. But I will tell you this. I look forward to Reds Fest. I look forward to whoever might be there. The names on that list will continue to grow and grow. And we will keep you updated all along the way. And that is going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Jeff, get us out of here.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Locked On Reds. Tomorrow, we will dive into something related to pitching because we talked a lot about the lineup here recently, and there's some interesting nuggets when it comes to the Reds pitching staff. So we're definitely going to do that tomorrow. Make sure that you subscribe and follow Locked On Reds so that you can get all the latest updates all throughout the off season, because we're going to be with you every single day. You can also follow Steve and myself on social media. You can follow me at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. You can follow Steve at S. Offenbaker with 2 Fs. And you can follow the show at Locked On Reds. There's no Fs in that. Did Locked On Reds make your Spotify Wrapped list? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you our first ever 24/7 national Locked On Sports Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. Until next time, you always know that we will be Locked On Reds every single day.
I wish Reds Fest was tomorrow. I am ready.
It would be about that time. Actually, it should have been yesterday. No,
That's
2 days
true.
ago. 2 days ago.
That's right.
In an alternate universe somewhere.